said forever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I burned your letters, and I'm just forgetting about you. I'm just forgetting about you.
This stream contains fast flashing images that may affect viewers who are susceptible to photosensitive epilepsy or other photosensitivities. Viewer discretion is advised.
A box.
There could be anything in there.
Why are you hiding?
Anytime you crack a butterfly, keep your eyes on me. 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 Keep your eyes on me.
Oh my god.
Keep your eyes on me.
Oh,
Whoa.
Keep your eyes on me. Anytime you crack a butterfly, keep your eyes on me.
I thought it was gonna scare me more. Are those butterflies?
dang. Or Clove, huh?
That's right, folks. Clove is ready to make their debut on stage, and the timing couldn't be better. We're ready to kick off 5 straight days of matches. Hello, folks, and welcome back to day 1 of the VCT America Super Week. We're coming to you hot and live from the Riot Games studio here in Los Angeles, California. I'm Uber here. I'm on the desk today with Ender, Mimi, Athena. How are we feeling? Clove makes their debut, makes their landing in VCT.
It's going to be so exciting. I think a lot of our teams here are teams that people have been expecting. We've seen our very first match, maybe tenz playing the agent. It's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see how this switches up everything. I feel like Clove can be a multitude of things, and I'm just excited to see how it goes in play.
But also, like, how many teams have had time to practice with Clove in scrims, right? Because this is coming in the middle of the season, week 3 right here as well. So we might see teams maybe come in on some of their first reps of Clove if they want to play it.
And this is the week where we're really going to start to get the playoff picture in order of the teams who are expected to make it. So a change-up coming right before this critical juncture could really switch things up for our team.
We had teams in Madrid as well working on that patch, of course, maybe with less time to sit, watch tape and prepare to bring Clove into their lineups. We've got 10 matches over the next 5 days, and a lot is at stake for our teams. Let's have a little listen to see what some of the pros had to say about what Super Week means for them.
Super Week, we got to play 2 matches in 1 week. Usually it's 1, but this time it's 2. It's going to be more difficult because you have less preparation for both teams. You know, got to grind it out on that week. And, you know, it's just a little less preparation. Luckily for our team, we kind of just always play our own game and don't really think too much about them, so it's not the biggest thing for us to think about. We should be fine.
The closest thing to Super Week for us was honestly kickoff, just because a lot of games were like back-to-back or close to each other. So we kind of got a bit of exposure to a close format like that at the beginning of the year.
Creo que la Super Week, o sea, va a ser cansadora. Creo que va a ser el momento clave de la liga para todos los equipos, para saber si ya están como clasificados en los playoffs o no están clasificados.
I think the teams that do good preparation will do well in that week.
Después de que estamos entrenando demasiado fuerte, sabemos el nivel que tenemos, les acabamos de ganar a los campeones.
We have Oxy, so we don't have to think that much other than that.
Confiante no nosso trabalho, a gente teve bastante tempo aí, tipo, off, né, sem jogar campeonato para poder se preparar. Eu sinto que a gente chega preparado, é só acertar alguns detalhes mesmo para poder se provar.
Estamos preparados como equipo, venimos entrenando súper bien, y hay solo seguir manteniendo el ritmo y mejorando unos pequeños errores y se nos va a dar bien, yo creo, en el Super Week.
Me and I know my team, we love just competing. So having like matches close to each other is going to be such like a week of fire. Like we got to prepare for this. You know, we got 2 big matches coming up.
Most teams can pretty much lose to any team. I think a lot of people say that like the bottom 6 teams can't beat the top 2 teams and stuff like that. I don't think that's true. Lev, which is a team that beat SEN, right? Like I think anyone can really beat anyone still.
All right, so now we've set the stage for this oncoming Super Week. Let's have a look at our current standings, because the Omega Group has taken an utter shellacking in the first 2 weeks. Here's how it all plays out. Of course, Leviathan, a bright spot for them, of course. We're very impressed with what they were able to do against that Sentinels roster, but in general, it's looking a little rough out there.
Yeah, the Alpha teams are preying on the downfall of everyone in Omega, hoping that 3 teams don't get those 2 wins. Because if it sticks with Omega getting shellacked the whole season, that means that the Alpha teams get that extra spot. And that group, I think, is incredibly stacked when you compare it with the competition in Group Omega.
Yeah, to just clarify, it is you must get at least 2 wins in your group in order to have a chance of qualifying for playoffs. If you don't, you're done. So.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of like a pivotal moment. And you kind of mentioned this earlier, but also looking at it when you're on that team, seeing that perspective of like, okay, are we going to be able to push past this obstacle? Are we going to be able to make it to playoffs? I feel like having that momentum towards that is really important. And going 0-2 at the very start is going to be a little bit of a momentum downer.
But you heard the players mention it in that video. This is something that these teams are accustomed to. It's a lot more similar to that kickoff format that we had early on, where you're playing back-to-back matches. You know, a team like Sentinels is going to be ready for that after their tough run at Madrid. But it is definitely very different than the normal week-by-week play.
Yeah, and even Rooney kind of saying, wow, we kind of don't really think about it at this point. We've
Kabir
got games to play.
not thinking. That's my favorite thing.
It's very true. I mean, they do all the thinking for Roxy, and even that is not that much, apparently. But here's what is coming up today. We're starting Super Week off with Sentinels versus MIBR. And, of course, as we just mentioned, later it's Cloud9 taking on Loud. And let's shift our focus a little bit to the context around some of these games here. We've talked about how important they are. They are pivotal in this Super Week. There's a lot to get through. You don't want to be sleeping this week and come out the other side wondering what the heck went wrong. We're currently on patch 8.07, though, and the big headline is that Clove is now playable on stage. So let's get a bit of an idea of what our players think of Valorant's new death-defying agent.
Bueno, la forma en que yo jugaría Clove sería full W.
Definitely won't be meta changing, but I think Clove will be played a lot.
I think Clove is going to be very good for the controller players that like are low-key duelist players.
Eu tinha ouvido que Clove é um agente não binário, então eu acredito que representa bem a palavra diversidade, já que ali na função de controlador tem um jeito mais agressivo.
The movement you get, like when you use the C, gives you like a stim, overheal. You get the movement speed as well. Like you don't have to look at the body to press the ability, so it's like it'll give you that edge of when you want to peek again.
Even the explosive decay, like bomb thing is insane. Like it just instantly does 90 damage, so entering with that piece of utility is very strong.
Creo que es difícil de adaptar a los equipos porque lo estuve probando y, por ejemplo, sus rangos de humo son un poco cortos, entonces no podría reemplazar en algunos mapas a un humo de Omen, un humo de Astra que abarcan todo el mapa. Pero sí para nuevas composiciones donde pueden haber dos humos, creo que viene bastante bien.
E dá pra fazer várias jogadas agressivas, né? Por mais que exerça a função de controlador, você consegue reviver depois que você morreu, você consegue smocar depois que você morreu, então é bem bacana.
The ultimate is not dead yet, where if you die, you have a small, short time to activate it, to come back to life, get your revenge, come back into the game, and start fragging again.
I would say the biggest weakness that Clove will have in pro play is they don't have a lot of utility for their teammates. The Omen has Paranoia, Brimstone has Molly, Stim Beacon. They don't really have anything that helps set up their teammates, and I think that's going to be something that limits them in the pro setting.
Vai ter uma mudança no meta em vários mapas, provavelmente vão usar no lugar do Omen ou da Astra, então provavelmente vai rolar uma mudança em várias composições porque Clove é bem forte.
When you get a kill and you use the speed boost, if you have Brimstone also throw a stim on the floor, you're like faster than Neon with your gun out. So you're literally just flying across the map. So make sure you lock Clove and Brimstone in your ranked games and try that out.
I do think the addition of Clove has made Valorant all really fun for me recently, just because I've been learning the new character and being able to just experiment with everything is really fun. And I think Clove in general is a really fun character.
Now, we got to hear Valorant mention it briefly, Mimi, but you still think that the speed buff from Pick Me Up is actually kind of slept on by many still?
Yeah, I think it's sick. I've been exclusively playing Clove in my rank games since they came out, because I'm the problem. And every time you get a kill, you can disrupt timings like crazy with that ability. And I think, like the players are saying, for people who already play a very aggressive controller style, like tenz there, if you kind of have the agency to int, it'll unlock some crazy potentials, because you have to think about the game in a very different way, that dying means so much less when you're playing Clove.
Yeah, I mean, I literally was thinking about it in terms of the playstyles for all of these teams. They can genuinely switch up their playstyle and change up the whole meta to just be this kind of like YOLO, hold W swag kind of team where their controller, it literally doesn't matter if they die, exactly like you said. But again, I do want to touch up a little bit on the cons, which is just like, kind of mentioned in that preview that Clove doesn't have that much util for their teammates.
Some defining weaknesses.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is if you're replacing them with Omen in a comp, you're losing your line control ability, which is one of the big reasons that Omen gets so much play. That Paranoia is super powerful, and you lose out that supportive util like Vanity was talking about.
Also, it's harder to lurk, right? You sort of set up smokes across the map.
The radius is very small.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so the low-hanging fruit here is, obviously tenz. There are probably quite a few players that we hope at least are going to pick up Clove, but we'll table that for now and jump into today's first match. Of course, let's talk Sentinels. They get 2-0'd by Leviathan. Everyone is pretty shocked. Aspas, over the course of that series, is 68 kills. He breaks a kill record on Lotus. It is a marathon of a match. What happened here for Sentinels? Kaplan was not pleased with his squad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sentinels, at the beginning, it looked like they were just losing like these small little mistakes that caused them to lose these rounds. But it also felt like a really big mixture between Lev just absolutely dominating. I feel like Aspas had such a big impact that we cannot overlook it. A lot of people say that when it comes to these duelists, these fraggers, you can't just kind of plan a whole team around them. But at the same time, I think Sentinels, just small mistakes was what they picked up on really fast.
Absolutely, and I think as well for Leviathan, they were playing to a level that we haven't seen from the team yet, right? Aspas was ridiculous. I think they had some great reads on their attacking side in particular. That first half for Lotus wasn't even just Aspas dominating. It was some really good mid-round plays, and they were playing forward, disrupting these Sentinels retakes. They really just got off on the wrong foot, and it was such a tough game to recover when you're against such a hot player like Aspas.
Yeah, the thing I genuinely wonder, though, too, is if Lev watched these VODs and pinpointed those weaknesses and kind of put their kind of aggressive stances more towards it, because that's a really big thing when it comes to pro play, is watching these VODs, making sure that they can kind of see exactly what they can abuse. And Sentinels kind of letting off the gas a little bit, I think that
I mean, we heard from Kaplan. He said, I think our Lotus is getting a bit readable.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go back and come up with something a little bit new. But after the loss, Sentinel's social media decided to honour the bet. They made a bet with Leviathan, of course, around this game. Sentinel's incredible salespeople, but a bet is a bet. Now they're shilling the Leviathan banner, which kind of speaks for itself, I'd like to think. But nice to see them get involved with marketing for a rival team.
I mean, this is a Josh Wilkinson classic. Unable to give a compliment without backhand. Like, oh, yeah, you should definitely buy this bundle. Also, it's because you have one player who carried the entire game.
I expect nothing less from Sentinels. I mean, nothing though. I mean, there was a loss here, and we know all the Sentinels fans, they often have a lot to say, and the social media kind of blew up after this. Nothing really gets people going on social media like a big Sentinels L. And a lot of these reactions, again, are, like people quite surprised, right? But, I think we all were too.
Yes. I want to say, Sentinels fans, this is the exception. Make Rob Moore put away the paper shredder. We're not making any changes. My hope is that this is a good thing for Sentinels, because when you've won a tournament, when you're on top of the world, I think it can sometimes be hard to remember how close all the teams are. And I'm not saying they've gotten complacent. I'm just saying a win like this, it'll light a fire under your ass. You're going to go out there. You are going to focus so much harder on fixing all those little details that might not have been exposed unless you lost this game. In the grand scheme of the season, that match, obviously a win's a win, but Sentinels is going to likely make playoffs anyways. I think this is a great learning opportunity for them to really focus now that we're about halfway through the stage.
Yeah, I mean, and with Clove coming out, it could be a complete kind of utter fire, like you said, under them to kind of change up their meta, to kind of change up their play style a little bit, because now they know that all these teams have been watching them. They were so successful, and now they're going to change maybe, hopefully, a little bit up. Maybe we do see tenz on that Clove.
The workload is serious for this team because, again, they might want to go and revolutionize some of their approaches to maps. They've also got to tighten up the issues that they had with Leviathan. And Coach Kaplan, the one who will be leading that charge, did not mess around when we spoke to him about the state of things after that map one, that Lotus loss. Check this out.
Yeah, we just got to look at why did we lose that map. Number one, we just didn't care for a half, and that's not okay. So we basically played without a half. And then number two, I think our Lotus is catching up to us a bit. We were a bit readable, especially on defense. Need to mix things up for the future. So looking at Icebox, number one, we're already awake. We're not going to make that mistake again in a half. And two, we really worked on it this week. We're going to show some different stuff. And basically just, hey, the reasons we lost that aren't going to be reasons we lose this game. They're just not in the picture for Icebox, and run it back.
Obviously, pretty shocking to see Sentinels find 3 rounds on defense. So much fighting over Mound as well, over that C site. They really couldn't find any edges. But in that match, there wasn't one single player underperforming necessarily. The entire team went negative. And this is over quite a long game run. Let's have a look at these stats here. I think John QT looked fantastic in multiple clutch moments here, but some of the usual suspects were off the boil for the Sentinels.
Yeah, in that overtime, John was ridiculous. He's the only reason that it really made it to overtime, that match stayed so close. It's a testament to the individuals that that happened. But across the board, yeah, they were getting rolled. You mentioned that like mountain control they kept going for. It was those Leviathan constant late round re-clears with Osmos being set up incredibly well. They was just running Sen over. And they were so much slower to adapt, to come up with that new plan on the defense compared to what we're used to from this team.
I mean, it kind of touches up on what you said as well about Leviathan kind of playing a whole new game that we haven't seen before. And I think that was so good to watch, because that level of aggression is what we normally see out of Sentinels. And so it kind of like flipped the switch onto them.
Sure.
And their reaction was kind of like, yeah, they went to OT. Yeah, it's kind of close. Yeah, monkey together strong, you know? Like, sure,
I'm sure that's exactly what they were saying in their call.
Verbatim. Together strong.
I mean, all right, Sen City, you've had your stern talking to. I think you guys know what maybe needs to change coming into this game. But we need to talk about their opponents. MIBR do not have an easy road ahead of them. I mean, this is brutal for a team in their position. They're going to go up against a lot of these matchups. This is what it takes, by the way, to beat Sentinels. Aspas going absolutely hog wild. Who do MIBR have they can lean on to pull this off, or does it have to be something completely different?
I don't think they have a player who can do this. Osmos is a top 3 player, not just in VCT Americas, but in the world. For MIBR, they have players who will have moments. RGL is good in the clutch. Sometimes FRZ will step up and have a game or two. But they pound for pound, I don't think have a superstar that on paper you're putting above their opponent on Sentinels.
Do they need one?
Yeah. Because this team specifically, they've been really good at being like a stable rock all around each other, but you need to have that star player. The reason why is because when you want to win games, you have to play to win, and that means taking these risks that necessarily the other team won't expect, or taking aggressive peaks that you cannot be afraid to lose, and it felt like at a certain point they just couldn't set up for that.
That's exactly it for me. MIBR is a team that is very safe. I think it's the best way to describe it. They're playing for their trades. They're setting each other up well, but they're also not taking those risks that you're saying they need to. On top of that, they're playing very old comps. Sentinels is one of the teams leading the meta right now with stuff like the Gecko KO compositions and kind of getting ahead on that. I imagine they're a team that is going to be playing Clove, if not today, soon. And on the other hand, MIBR is still playing Solo Sky on most of their maps. They're honestly a team who seems very focused on their fundamentals, which is kind of what you need for a new team. But in a lot of ways, they're being left behind by some of the other squads in our league.
And of course, we magnanimously at the VCT desk want to lend our brain power to the MIBR mega mind. So for a closer look at what they need to do, Ender has got some illustration for us.
That I do. And to me, I think it all comes down to the fundamentals for MIBR. That is typically a point where they have shown gaps in their past. And I want to look at 3 of their rounds from their series last week up against Crew, where they showed some pretty good mid-round ideas, but lost in the fundamental game. So first things first is a attack-sided half for MIBR is always based around some kind of 1-3-1 idea, where they're setting up to get 3 players and lurk into some mid-space to enable their star, Artazine, to find some kills. So early in this round, what do? They play for that early mid space. They also get FRZ into B main, and they note that it's a cipher on the B side of the map. So the decision making from MIBR is to go into mid, spam for any turret or tripwire in top mid, and set up to open up some lanes of attack, right? So as they break that turret, all of a sudden the rotation comes through from Crew, right? They think that, hey, it might be a finish over into the B site, but MIBR are still playing things relatively quietly. And here's where they reset inside of the round. So now that they've cleared away B main, they know there's no forward information for Crew over there. They also know that this door is still broken, so there's very likely no one in market. This tells them it is now time to fake an attack into market. So what do? They wait this one out and eventually start to break down this door. They'll send a Sky Flash, an Omen Smoke, and a Raze dash into market. Here it goes, no dash, sorry, but we clear on in there with the Sky. And what this does is it pulls Crew now, it pulls them over here, and it opens up this lane of attack. And as 3 players go through mid, they're also going to start creeping up into elbow. It's a nice idea here to get this, slick little creep going in, and they see Klaus, they force him back. But here's where the fundamentals take over and the problems start to come. Hold on, what's our Spike doing? Spike hung out in mid while the rest of the team passed through this area. Now we know there are players right there, but no one holds to get this Spike across. So coming over with the Spike, RGL Meister just gets knocked down and we lose the Spike there. That happens a lot where teams will swing into lines and kill them when they scale forward. Now, looking forward into this next round, it's another cool mid-round idea. So in a very different style to the last round, they realize Crew is actually playing forward in B main. So what do MIBR do in this type of a situation? Well, instead of reacting and falling back into the A site, they choose to come back into B and push that Omen out of the area. Still putting pressure in mid, breaking the door, breaking a tripwire, putting a smoke in top mid, and they dive into this space to force the player away. It still gets pretty interesting after this, though, because it's not so simple for them, right? They dash in, they push him away, but they don't choose to accelerate into this site. Instead, they take the orb on Artazine. Now, Artazine is too awful right now. With this, he's going to be one off. So what the team chooses to do is they actually start rotating back over towards B. They are going to threaten picking up that orb there and execing into A. And they make it with 2 sets of footsteps. Now a Skydog is going to go in towards that side of the map. And also, that Omen ult fake out is pretty sweet there, too. Do you see that? Going over to, sorry, it's about to come here over into spawn. The Omen ult fake into spawn right there. Right? They're threatening going into A, and then they get a walk into the B site. So it's all about this misdirection coming after putting a lot of pressure in the mid and pulling players into that area. This round looks good for them. But here's where, again, it falls apart, because what happens after 2 rounds of slow playing mid? The enemy team is going to run at you. It's an eco as well, and MIBR cannot deal with any form of mid-aggression, right? Like, players are swinging through smokes, and they keep going in this round, hunting down players outside of A main now, and getting those kills. But this is not just an eco round thing. This is a very consistent issue of MIBR's, where they do not respond to either full aggro pieces in mid like that, or remember back to the first game, or the first round, it's just swinging into lines. They're not holding their teammates through, and that was a big, big issue when they played up against Sentinels back in kickoff. That is something they're going to have to fix, and we'll send it back to the desk for more.
Thank you very much, Christy. Yeah, look, to be fair, it's pretty classic crew on an eco just to buy pistols and run into mid. But that was, like, it's quite elaborate what we're seeing from MIBR, but it's riddled with holes and gaps that could be exploited.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me, right? This is a team that fundamentally understands how to play this game. There's a reason they're playing at this level. They get the basics, they get the fundamentals, but these late round gaps in execution, forgetting about a little thing, for, you know, not being a step ahead of your opponent's adaptation, that's what's getting them game after game. And that's why I'm afraid they're going to continue to be a fine team and not a team who can really show up and beat our best.
Yeah, we mentioned about creativity as well, and that's another thing is all these teams are accustomed to playing against these metas, against these comps. Every single one of these teams understands how to fundamentally play this game. It's just a matter of who is more creative. And unfortunately, right now for MIBR, I don't really feel it.
I mean, we can even zoom out here and sort of ask a question about our Brazilian teams at large, right? Because they are still without a win here in this stage, just kind of pointed out with that lower third. MIBR, probably the one that a lot of people are looking at going, hey, wake up, do something, make it happen.
Poking them with a stick. Come on, MIBR. I don't think this is going to be the match. I think the reason that Loud steps above all the rest of these Brazilian teams is, one, they have the superstars. They have a player like Les who steps up and is ridiculous. You don't see that same star power in MIBR. And 2, it's the spice. It's the willingness to take risks, to try different comps, to try different ideas. And Sadak is an IGL being ahead of the curve. MIBR is very much in the center of the bell curve.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And for more, of course, on today's particular matchup, let's head over to Elizabeth, who caught up with assistant coach Frod for some words.
Frod, if I have a quick word with you, please. This season has been up and down for MIBR. Generic question about the boys. What has been the biggest challenge for them outside of the server to overcome?
You know, just being away from family. I think that was probably the biggest thing. You know, everyone's so far away. We don't have really opportunities to speak to them as often as we like or see them as much as we like. But, you know, we're in this together. So I feel like through those sacrifices and stuff like that, we become stronger and hopefully build confidence and just focus on our training and just the guys in our group.
Well, good luck today.
So we're thinking about SEN, MIBR. We're also thinking about regions, how they're performing in general. We got together with Mimi and Athena before the show to ask them to create an unbeatable all-star roster that would smite any opponent. It's time to check out their super weak teams. You can pitch them, present them, let us know.
So it's funny because both words have the word super in them.
Yeah, no, I got it. I figured it out, actually.
That's crazy.
Pitch me your team.
You want me to pitch you my... Oh, it is me.
No,
I'm going to pitch my team. Show my team. This team, it's good. And here's who I picked. I went out and I decided to pick some of the best and brightest. I also gave myself a little limitation. Only one player per team. That was just a little extra bit of fun. We're starting off with an all-star IGL. Sadak has led more different players to international events than pretty much anyone else in the world. You then go over to your star. You know I had to get Aspas reunited with his boy Sadak in the controller role. we've got tenz. He's been electric. The guy was ridiculous in Madrid. He's been good in Americas as well. He's an X factor for our team. Now we need consistency. We bring in Crash. He's one of the best initiator players that has been at the top level of VCT for so damn long. And you close out the roster with Leaf, a guy who can play on Sentinels, be a more passive player, but also add a little voice to the team when
A
you
secondary
need,
caller,
and
right?
have some crazy moments when he needs to as well.
Okay.
Damn, that's fair. I mean, you cooked up some stuff, but I think...
Oh, hi, actually, the glasses are on? The glasses want it.
I want, guys. No, for me. Okay, hear me out. Zekin as duelist. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm picking up.
Ooh,
Do I need
this
to
is
say
spicy.
more?
You've a lot of duelists on this team.
No,
Wait,
no,
hold
no.
on.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Controller.
An ex-duelist.
King.
Okay.
IGL. Controller. Goes crazy. Also can frag out. Potentially, really good. Sentinel. Victor. Come on. It's Victor. Like, he's been insane. His performance has been putting up numbers. Probably one of the best Sentinels so far in Stage 1. For the Initiator, we saw an insane performance from Heat last week, and I think that can just say less. Say less, fam. You can go on KO. You're good.
I mean, you're pitching, so maybe say a little more.
Are you sold on Heat off of 1 week?
Yes.
Really?
He
But what
was
about
so
last season?
good.
What? What happens,
he
though?
performed.
Is he going to blow this team up?
Anyway, my flex is Aspas. You know why? He can duelist.
You're gonna
He can
put
go crazy.
she's gonna sign off and put
Hear
him
me
on
out.
flex.
He can go on controller
No.
on Clove.
No.
And
What
basically
you're literally telling like the thing Lev did on Ascent 2 weeks ago, where they have the best Sova and Jet players in the world, and then they just don't put them on Jet and Sova. Like, come on.
They can go double duelist, and Aspas can go crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Aspas to smoke for people.
This is not real.
Right,
Trust me.
Twitch,
Trust me.
who has the best team? You guys can spam your vote in chat right now while we continue to argue. But we're pretty much... Okay, we haven't spent much time reacting to your team, to be fair.
Here's what I want to do. So the litmus test of Valorant is Ascent.
Okay.
What is your Ascent comp with that team? And who's on what?
Hear me out. Aspas on Clove.
It's a bit unhinged, but that's one of the maps that it's
Aspas
somewhat
on
reasonable.
Clove. All right, Heat, KO.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Senti Victor, he can do whatever he wants. Honestly, low-key, he can do whatever he wants. He's cool.
Say less.
He's locking Sage.
He's like,
No Sage. It's
Okay.
a Killjoy. We're gonna lock in Killjoy.
King, he can play Brim.
What?
Brim Clove?
Brim Clove.
Trust me.
No?
Stim, you don't have faster teams.
Oh, yeah,
than
you're
us.
zooming.
my. Okay.
The
Molly the
speed,
side.
that's not
Smoke, you know how
real.
it is? And then Zekin can just fly in.
Can you look at that number on the screen for me, Myrna?
I do. Okay, so I will give you.
5 to 5. Are you kidding?
Look, I think what I'll give you is you may have drafted the best pug team in the history of Valorant. Like, if I wanted a team to go out and play in Premier, that's the team I would draft. But if I wanted to win VCT, I'd go Mimi.
I see the future of your team. 2 weeks in, you've lost 2 matches. You put out a tweet, you sit down. Hello, Myrna Team City. We are dropping Ospots for role issues.
Team City.
And your
Yo!
team dismantles.
Okay, Twitch chat has officially spoken, and on the other hand, Sentinels and MIBR are minutes away from taking to the stage. So let's jump headfirst into map select here. It's definitely something that's got us sitting up in our seats because we've kind of got a little bit more information about, Sentinels map pool, and they've already said, hey, like our Lotus, for example, a little bit dodgy. Let's see what they end up going for now in our map select.
Hey guys, welcome. As you know, teams were decided via coin flip. Sentinels is Team A, MIBR is Team B. Sentinels, you have first map ban.
Ban Breeze.
Sentinels ban Breeze. MIBR, what would you like to ban?
Split.
MIBR ban Split. And what would you like to pick?
Pick Lotus.
Sentinels pick Lotus. And would you like attack or defense on that?
Attack. Attack.
MIBR select attack. And what map would you like?
Bind.
MIBR select bind. And would you like attack or defense?
Attack.
Sentinels select attack. And you have 1 map ban.
Ban Ascent.
Sentinels ban Ascent. And what would you like to ban?
We ban Icebox.
MIBR ban Icebox. Decider map will be Sunset. And you have side select.
Defense, please.
Sentinels select defense. All right, boys, best of luck today.
Thanks.
There you have it. Lotus bind, Sunset coming out of the picture. Let's get some quick predictions from our desk.
Haha, Sentinels 2-0. That's the prediction.
Huh.
But I want to say that I don't like what you said about MIBR.
What don't you
I don't like it.
You're
You
looking
said,
at me,
you
but you're
said
pointing at me
they've
now.
got to be creative. No, I was over there doing the telestrator, and you're like, they've got to be creative. And I don't want this team to be creative. I just want this team to go back and work on their protocols, their scaling protocols. What are you doing?
You got buzzed.
I actually think
Go next.
MIBR's mid-round calling is so creative, and I love their ideas. I think that where they fall completely apart is individual, like the trust and scaling and watching like every corner. Because the amount of times I saw, not just in that game versus Crew, but also in their series versus Sentinels back in kickoff, Sentinels just swing into lines and own MIBR. That's why they're losing. It's not deeper than
Okay, literally, brothers taking up all that time. Give me your team. Give me your
I
friend.
think playing Solo Sky on as many maps as they do throttle their mid-round calling and the options they have.
Disagree.
Anyway.